Hi, welcome to my messy fingers. We are off on a new collection. It is featuring Ciao Bella's The Nutcracker. I love the texture of this paper. We'll get to that a little bit more later. The album I'm making is from Cardstock Warehouse. It is their 12 by 12 100-pound cover. It's 25 sheets. It's in their Lesbo Colors collection, and it's called Red Rose. That's what I'm using to wrap this album. Now, what you're going to want to have, now if you have an album method of making that you prefer over mine, absolutely do it. But keep in mind, I'm going to be playing with 5/8 of an inch gusset. So if you're making one from scratch using your own personal method, make sure that you've got gussets in between the pages set at 5/8, because I like to build up, and we want to make sure that when those pages close and come together, they've got plenty of room to handle what we're building on each one of those. This spine, which is 1 7/8 by 9 inches, will give us 2 pages that will support 4 signatures. And then we're going to have the left and the right panels, which will give you a total of 6 signatures. So you're going to need to have 2 panels of chipboard that are 9 by 9. Again, your spine will be 1 7/8 by 9. And when I build my albums, I use TYVEK on the back side of the chipboard so that the cardstock is floating over this. It's an envelope. It's a shipping envelope, mailing envelope. Like I said, it's called TYVEK, TYVEK. With this on the back side and the cardstock, as you flex, your cardstock is floating over this instead of the cardstock floating over these sharp edges of the chipboard. So that's how I like to make mine. Now, you will want to cut them either the entire length, which I did this time. I usually don't. So this one is 2 by 9. You want it 2 inches across because you're going to come in and score it at 7/8. And then you're going to score it at 1 7/8. That gives us a 1/4 inch gusset in between each one. And that gusset is where the chipboard will lie. And then by the time we get all the pieces together, we will have a 1/4 inch gusset in between all of the chipboard pieces. Now for your cardstock, for wrapping, so that you have all of your pieces ready, you're going to want one piece that measures 11 by 11 5/8, and that's the one where the 3/8 of an inch tape will go. And then the other one will be 11 by 11. These two will connect, which will give us our length. Then you're going to need to cut a piece that is 6 by 7/8. It'll just be a hair short of the 9 by 9. Then you're going to want to cut 2 pages that are going to be 8 7/8 in the height. You're going to score it at 5/8, but we're not going to cut the length yet until we get them into the album, and then we'll make our tick mark as to how close to the edge of the opening that we want to be. We're going to make a couple of pockets, so you're going to want 2 that are going to be 9 7/8 in height. And then you're going to score it at a 1/2 on each end. So then when this goes in, I might have scored this on the wrong side. Well, we can figure that out. But we're going to be scoring at a 1/2 on each end. And then these are going to fold. And then they're going to lay down inside the pocket. I think I scored on the wrong ends. I'm trying to stay ahead of things here. And sometimes I get it wrong. But those are going to come up a little bit later. So let's go ahead and let's move on to assembly. I'm going to start with my spine piece. And I'm going to run this right up that 1/4 inch gusset that we made when we scored these. And then we're going to do the other side so that we have our spine piece ready to go. I use a 1/2 inch tape right up, and I run it right up along that score mark. And then I finish it off with a 1/4 inch tape. Now, I was asked, you know, can you use glue on this? That's entirely your preference. I don't, because I really don't want to get wet glue in my gussets. And I honestly don't know what type of glue you're using. So this being a slick, waxy consistency, I cannot attest or assure or guarantee in any way that glue will dry, adhere on a waxy substance. The tape does, so that's why I use it. I don't have a concern with it. Okay, let's attach our first panel. So I'm going to line this up on my grid pattern so that when I come in here, my panel is on the same grid mark. So see, there's my 1/4 inch gusset. I don't like gussets binding when you close something. So my 1/4 inch gussets, I've never had an issue with that. Okay, I'm gonna line this back up here on the grid, make sure I'm straight. Come in here, lay this down, and I'm straight. Okay, so now we're going to start to wrap, and one moment. I'm back. Okay, so now put that aside for the moment. So again, you have a piece that's 11 by 11 5/8. This being the 5/8, and then another piece that's 11 by 11. And I use a 3/8 inch tape. You can use wider tape, but you're going to need to make sure that this piece is a little bit wider, because I am making this so that there is 1 inch all the way around once we get the chipboard attached. So this measurement here is based on this being a 3/8 of an inch piece of tape. Now, when we get ready to put this together, as I just stated, I'm going to have a 1 inch all the way around, and that's for wrapping. But it is really important that you put this tape mark as close to the center of the spine as you can, because then it's got equal pressure on each side. We don't want this to become a weak point. If you put it so that it looks like this, you're going to have a problem, because then you're putting stress on this because it's right on a joint. If you put it like this, then you really have an ugly eyesore, because now this is going to be running down the opposite side, and then when you put your pattern paper on, you're always going to see that seam. So I always make sure it is as close to center as I can for a lot of reasons. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run at least a 1/2 inch tape around the edges. We're going to run 3/8 of an inch tape on the inside edges. But we're also going to run a bunch of tape here on the back, because this is the side that's going to get adhered to the cardstock. So I am going to put in a 1/2 inch wide tape and I'm running it right up along the gusset. And then on this side of it, I apologize for my arm being in the way, but it's the only way I can get this taped. All right, so this is what we have. Now I'm going to take a 1/4 inch roll of tape, and we're going to come down here in the middle, or to the end, I apologize, here to the end, and then we're going to come here to the middle, and then the middle of each section. That will ensure an equal adherence of the cardstock to the chipboard panel, and that you don't get a lot of bubbling because the cardstock is not secured down. Okay, and we're going to repeat that process. Okay, it does not have to be totally straight, just on there. What I am going to do, because I don't want it to interfere, I've got a little extra tape here that I'm going to trim off. Okay, so let's get the tape here around the edges. This will help hold down the cardstock that we're going to be turning over. And I'm going to turn it this way. And then I'm going to do it here on the ends. Okay, give her all a good burnish. And then we're going to put the 1/2 inch tape all the way around the perimeter of this cardstock. If you want to put this down in a couple of pieces, that's fine. I just like to do one long strip. All right. Give it a good burnish. So when I put this down, I want to make sure, like I said, that I've got roughly 1 inch on each end. I can just push it just a tad bit that way. I like to kind of keep things as even as I can because it makes for better wrapping. All right, so I'm pretty well centered. I've got it ready to go. I'm going to palm my left hand rather firmly so that I can lift this up and take these 2 strips of tape off of the spine And I hold it down tightly because I've got it all centered and I don't want it to move. And then I'm going to set it down. And I know that I had a slight, that's fine, a slight adjustment there. All right, now let's take off all of this. Now, if you're in a hurry and you're going to just flop it down, stop. Please wait, because if this is your first time making an album, or at least one of mine, there's an instruction. Because we're using TYVEK, it's very giving, and so it's going to shift on you so that it doesn't do that, and you maintain equal gusset. You're going to gently pull and then lay it down on both sides. That will keep things nice and straight, and you don't have it buckling here on the back. And we're going to repeat that process on this panel. Again, pick it up, a gentle tug, and then lay it down. Good old burnish. Okay. Now I am going to miter. I was asked about my mitering tools. I have two. I have a long one and a short one. When I'm making smaller albums, this one's easier to use because, as you can see, it doesn't go all the way to the cardstock, so I don't want a goofy cut, but I love this tool when I'm doing smaller albums. On my bigger albums, I use this one because then I've got great contact going from cardstock end to cardstock end. You can get this at a company online store called colorwayarts.com. And it will be in their tools section. I'm not providing a link simply because I don't have their permission to do that. So you can go search it if it's something you think you'd want. It's got great weight. It will last forever. And it sits nice and square in the corner. But I'm quite sure you have your own corner mitering tool. Okay, now I'm going to start up here. I play with 100-pound cardstock because I find that a lighter weight cardstock doesn't work for me on my albums. Now, having said that, I would love it if this cardstock came in a 65-pound weight, but it doesn't. That's the manufacturer's choice. So if you choose to use a different red, get so that you can wrap it in a 65-pound weight, that's great. But get matching cardstock, because when we get to the inner pages, you're really going to want 100-pound weight, because by the time you start making those signatures, that 65-pound weight is going to flex. It's not going to be sturdy enough to hold the weight of all the pages that you're going to be adding to it. That's my opinion, and that's how I prefer to make my albums. But because I don't have 65-pound weight, I am doing this in 100. So I'm going to get some of these tools out of the way. So I am using 100-pound. I'm giving it a good firm rub to help bend that cardstock. Give it another burnish here, and then in the middle, down and out. around my corner there, and then around my corner there. Okay, let's pull this off. Come on. Just going to back this off just a smidgen. This corner. Sometimes it's not the simplest thing for me to do. I don't know why. Make sure that's flat. And then we're going to do the other side, but I am going to turn this around. It's easier for me to pull towards me than to push away from me. Let me make sure this is okay. Corner's just not bending for me very well. Oh, I got a ripple. Okay. Okay, now before I add my spine cover, I want to push this cardstock gently down into the gusset, because if you fold it, you end up with this big bunchy, and I personally don't like that. So I am just gently going to push this down into that gusset. The tape that is on the folded over edge will stick to, if it makes contact to the TYVEK, it will stick. If it doesn't make contact, I don't worry about it. I'm not going to force this in there. You don't want to do it so firmly that you tear this, because then the only alternative you have, well, you have two, but in my opinion, the only alternative you have is to run a strip of glue through the tear, because the other option is to take everything out and flatten that a little bit and start over. So then when you fold these, you've got nice clean peaks, and that excess is down in there. All right, so now your 6-inch piece, it'll be 6 inches wide by 8 7/8. The album's 9 by 9. I cut it to 8 7/8 so that the cardstock stops just short of the top and the bottom. So I can see kind of where I want to be. Now I'm going to run tape through on top of the chipboard, but not here, not necessary, because you're going to tape the perimeter of this, and that's what's going to go down. So let's do that. I'm going to tape half. Oh, I grabbed my big roll. Wasn't quite necessary. This is 5/8. I really only wanted a half, but it'll work. All right, let me get the correct size for this. All right, so now I'm going to take 3/8 of an inch and I'm going to run it right here along the gusset because I want the tape, I want that paper right down on the chipboard at this edge so that the paper is secure on this edge so that we can accomplish the next step. I'm running 2 strips of 3/8, so if you want to run 1 strip of 5/8, that's fine. I just don't want this to bubble and separate when I put it down. Okay, we're going to pull these 2. And then I'm going to evenly space here to here with this 6 inches. And I'm going to come up about 1/16. Yeah, that's okay. All righty, now. Now I'm not really going to push this tape down into there yet. Or I mean burnish the tape because we're going to push some cardstock down into that gusset again. And I want the tape to be somewhat flexible at this point. Wow, that just did not want to come out of there nicely, did it? There we go. All right, so just gently so it's in place, but then we're going to bend this and gently fold in this cardstock. And what I really want to do is identify the edge of the cardstock on the inside. That's going to be important here when we go to lay the pages as to where that cardstock is. And again, be firm but be gentle. I know that doesn't make sense. You do have to put a little bit of pressure, but you don't want to just plow through there so hard that you tear this cardstock. Not sure what I've got right there. Okay, fold it, lay it down, and now we'll burnish the tape into place. So then when you pick this up and you fold it, you still have these nice corners. I need to burnish again a little bit better than that. There we go. So I have tried to define the edges here of the spine as carefully and as gently as I can. But I need to remove some pencil marks. Don't need really erase all of that, but I am going to. All right, now our pages. You should have cut two that are 8 7/8 in the height and then scored at 5/8 of an inch. And then we're going to bring up the spine. As far as for placement, we're going to place that gusset here against the spine, run the page out, and then what I do is I take a look at where the end of my album is, and I want to come back about 1/4 of an inch. I don't want my buildups or my page to exceed the length of my chipboard piece, the edge of my album. So let's see, what did that measure in at? We may end up trimming to make it a, so we're going to trim this at 9.5 inches. So by 9.5 inches, and that's going across this page because it's got to include the gusset. So 8 7/8 in your height, 9.5 inches in your length, and then when we go to test that, we've got ourselves a 5/8 gusset over here, and then we're going to trim it at 9.5 inches. So we're going to do that twice. Nine and a half inches. And then this one, 9.5 inches. Now I want to make some pockets, so this is where we're going to need to I want to put on my tape before I forget. It's a 5/8 of an inch gusset, so I'm using 1/2 inch tape. I want these ready to go in when I get done. Okay, so this is how I make my pockets. If you have a different method for making pockets, make your pockets. So I needed this to be, yes, I scored it too soon. I wanted this to be 9 7/8, so there's a 1/2 inch on each bottom to score and fold up. So I had scored incorrectly on the ends instead of the length. So let's fix that, Charlie. Okay, there's that one. And there's that. Okay, so I'm going to take my page . I'm going to trim this down, but I'm probably doing things backward, but it's just how I do things. So, and I've got that score line there that's going to kind of, so I am going to lay this up next to this. I'm laying it right up next to my score line here because I want it right to the edge. And then I'm going to cut at about 1/4 oven. No, this is going to be even. It's going to be the inserts. I'm going to cut this even right here. And I'm going to do this on my big trimmer, so I will be right back. So I'm cutting at it looks like 8 7/8. All right, so 2 ways you can do this. You can wrap it like so, because you're going to cover it up on this side with patterned paper, which will give you a smooth entry. Or you can fold these under, and if you're going to fold them under, you're going to want to miter that corner. And I might need to make sure I cut this at the right length. No, I did not. I need to take a smidgen off here. I missed my mark. I am going to wrap over my preference because, like I said, on the back side we're going to cover this up, but it gives us a nice smooth entry into the pocket. So I am going to put tape. And then I will test it once again before I do. On the wrong way. Now I'm putting it on so that this is up, because when we go to put this in the album, that 5/8 gusset is going to lay along the chipboard line so that we have a 5/8 gusset between this panel and this page. So when you add these, add them to excuse me. Add them to this side, your non-taped side. So then when you turn it over, you have the tape on this side. So I want to make sure my ends are right. I'm going to take this off here. Then I'm going to line this up. And then I'm going to fold this over. Okay. It's wanting to bubble. I did not anticipate that very well. Come on. So I might have to put, well, shoot, that means I have to pull all the tape on the underside pack. Okay, let's lay this down. This one's going to lay down just fine, so I'm going to put it down first. The troubles of making a pocket. And then I'm just going to simply, this is not going to follow that score line very well. So I am just going to do my best to deal with it. Okay. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to bend this. So I've got to bring it to me so I can see what I'm doing. But when I bend this, it's going to highlight the edge of the chipboard. And I want to just back off about 1/16 of an inch off that edge and just gently set this down. And then we're going to do the repeat for the next page as well. And then I want to tape it so that it goes on like so. So my tape is going to go under here. Don't know where my tool went. There it is. And then my tape is going to go here. Like I said, if you've got a preferred way or an easier way to make a pocket, by all means. My methods are not perfect methods, and they're not the only methods. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over and re-burnish it so that hopefully I can get a new. Okay. Well, that one went down a lot easier. Oh, I didn't take the tape off the inside. What a goof. Oh my gosh, something's gotten into my nose. I apologize. Whoa. That took a fly. Goodness sakes. All right, now on this page, we're going to come right up underneath, and we're going to tuck underneath of this first page, and we're going to make sure that it's going to lie straight and flat. I was trying to create a new word before we actually tack it down. Okay, so very good, very good. All right, now we'll just give her a good old burnish. And then when you fold this up, you're going to see that you have roughly a 5/8 of an inch gusset, or yeah, gusset before you get to the big gusset. And you have the same here. So then everything folds and balances out. And then when we come back, we'll go ahead and make the inserts. I'm going to use a die cut so that I can identify that they're in there. We are not covering these panels with cardstock because it's a waste. We're going to actually put a signature down here, so don't waste the cardstock by covering these up. So until then, I will see you in a little bit. Bye-bye.